like to know from you what you feel is doing the unthinkable out of your perspective.
Well, there's a mindset of why not. I mean, lots of people decide they want to do a marathon, for instance, right? And I was working as a consultant when I did one of those Nice to Cannes, and I knew I wouldn't have time to train because I was working really long hours. So I was based in Amsterdam. I did maybe 6 or 7 5K runs, right? 8 times less than a full marathon. And I was registered, had all the tickets and everything else. And I could have gone, oh, well, I'll do another one later. Mm-hmm. I'm not ready for this one. But even back then, I was like, why not? It's not like I have to finish it. I am registered and I'll see how far I can go. And I think this is a key difference. Like some people, they are afraid to fail. And the mindset that I had then, that I definitely have now, is that define failure. Is running half a marathon without any training a failure? You just run half a marathon without any training. That's pretty good. Right? So the baseline you're defining for yourself should be and remain flexible. So the one thing that happened with the fasting is that it became a combination of different experiences that overall, in a 12-month period, meant that for 100 days I had no food. To start with 21, and then 14, and then 7, and 2, and 3, and then 50, like the final one. And I was also starting from borderline obese, like BMI 30 with 100 kilos. And I went all the way down to borderline malnourished, so 18.5 with 61.5 kilos. But that's not how it started. Like the unthinkable was a collation, a combination of really interesting experiences that made sense within my context. And then you look at the rear view mirror and go like, oh, wow, there's a picture forming, right? It's actually 100 days of a year. It's going from obesity to malnourishment and then bouncing back and doing something humanly, physiologically really difficult. And the more of a consistent path or a pattern you recognize in the past, the more empowered and motivated you are to go further and go, oh, wow, no, maybe I can do something else. So the unthinkable, in many ways, cannot be taught because you cannot see it, right? You just go in an overall direction that sort of feels right. And you sort of look back, yeah, this is how many jumps I've had so far. And you figure out, oh, that means that I can jump further. Mm-hmm. And this is the direction that I want to go now. So it is unthinkable until you build all the elements that create that thought and that result. And I'm being very subjective and abstract because that's what it feels like. Like you don't really know. You can say, I want to sail around the world. Sure. Right. I once took my daughter, who was 15, and I told her, let's fly around the world, but we have rules, right? I had done 2 around the world trips for business and holidays and so on, but this one I wanted to go with her. And I told her, we're flying from A to A. So we're literally coming back to the same place, but we don't know how. And the rule is we don't buy a ticket unless we have to, because otherwise they don't let you into the country. And we try to wait until the very last minute to buy the ticket. So you can decide if you want to stay a bit longer, if you want to visit another island and all that. So we started a trip in Zurich, went to Paris, then LA, and then, oh, I know that in the US you can rent a car in LA and return it to San Francisco. It's actually the other way around, and it's the same price. So I was hacking using skills that I developed as a traveler for so many years. But she had never done that, right? So the whole point is that as a 15-year-old, you with your crazy dad going like, we're going around the world, but I don't know how. We just know that the rules of the game are you only buy a ticket when you absolutely have to keep on moving. And you can only fly with low-cost airlines because that limits the options even more. And I use that to put a flip chart in front of her in my garden. I said, try to go to Skyscanner to discover what are the possible routes based on the criteria that we defined, right? I was the one paying, so I was not defining most criteria. But you end up having a lesson in terms of maths, like what is the optimum path in terms of cost and time and optionality, that she was learning in a beautiful sunny day in a Swiss countryside, planning around the world trip, right? So, and this is linear algebra, right? It's really, really boring if you're studying that on paper. But if you're doing that in the context of the garden, countryside, and going around the world, it's a lot of fun, right? And we figure out, you want to cross the Pacific, there's only Hawaii. Why would you not want to go to Hawaii in the first place? Because she had never been there. But she understood, like, there's no other way for us to cross the Pacific to get to Japan, which was the next destination. And when we were in Japan, she's crazy about it. Like, she wants to go there to become a ski instructor in Hokkaido and Sapporo. We ended up staying for quite some time. I said, well, we only have 7 days until you have to be back at school. So what can you do in 7 days? Would you like to go to 7 countries in 7 days? Because I had been to most of those countries. So for me, it was all about her and giving her that experience. And of course, it was about me as well, observing my daughter becoming wiser and learning new things. And she was like, sure thing. Like, the trip had been so enjoyable up to that point in time that she didn't even realize the enormity of 7 countries in 7 days in Asia. It's not like Luxembourg, France, Holland, Belgium, and Germany. So it's a very complex set of choices need to be made. You only have 12 hours in each country, which basically means that, well, we see 2 or 3 attractions to get a taster, and we don't stress, right? So it's a different way of traveling, but that was unthinkable. Like, the idea of going to 7 countries in 7 days was unthinkable until we were like, that actually makes sense, because it is not an opportunity that I would have in my life as a 15-year-old, definitely not her. And we thought that it was worth it. It was amazing, right? So the unthinkable in this case is, open the fridge, what do you have in there? What can you cook with what you've got? And that allows it to write your own story. And I think that this works for most people, even those who are less adventurous and are more focused on the local communities rather than traveling around.